I've grown up in a single parent family pretty much all of my life. My mom and my biological dad, they divorced when I was 2 years old. It ended up making me very angry as a child growing up, seeing, whether it be physical and emotional abuse towards my mom and some of it directed towards my brother and I. All that kind of accumulated to me being an atheist, agnostic for most of my childhood, and then just like almost a violent atheist towards, my high school years. I did not want anything to do with God. My grandma, she would invite me to church, and I remember at one point in my spiritual walk, she invited me to church, and I looked at her and said, that's stupid. That's a bunch of made up stuff. I don't know why you want me to go there. It's pretty much a waste of time. I ended up going to their Living Last Supper play at Woodburn Missionary. And that was kind of like one of the first times in my life where I had that light bulb go off in my heart, in my head, that maybe Jesus isn't just made up. At the end of this play though, like you get to see Jesus actually get, whipped. They didn't actually whip him, but like you got to see what that would have been like. I remember just thinking to myself, wow, like, like how do I deserve that kind of love from God? And as I'm sitting there in the pew that night, like just kind of thinking through everything that was in my heart at that time, I just didn't want anything to do with him. And here he is, carrying a cross for me. That really moved me, to say the least. And I didn't accept him that night. I didn't start to follow him that night. But, a couple months later at church, the pastor did a sermon at the end. He said, hey, if you haven't decided to officially follow Jesus, I want to give you that opportunity today. I ended up standing up, and I'm glad I did, because as I was standing there, as he was praying over me, I remember just feeling this supernatural presence just wrap around me. And, looking back at it, I could never describe it for the longest time, but the more I read in God's word, the more I would describe it as if God was just standing right beside me, just wrapping his arms around me, saying, you know what, you're mine now. My walk with God hasn't been easy by any means. It's actually been very, very hard at times. And I've had to really assess whether I wanted to follow Jesus. And I've thought about walking away from him a couple different points in my walk with him. But man, I'm very, very happy I haven't done that. Because the more I get tested, the more I want him. It's hard sometimes, but Jesus says, it's worth it. When you start to follow me, you walk on this narrow path. And that narrow path is a hard walk, but it's worth every single step. That's what I've learned through my walk with him, is just to keep walking, even when it's hard. Because you're walking home. You're gonna go home and be with him forever. And that's one of the things that really keeps me with him, even in the hard stuff.